for joining us for another episode of Deconstructing the Narrative. I am your host, and I'm also a content creator with SADA Collective. My name is Erica, and today I'm here with Natalia. How are you, Natalia?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Yeah, of course. Thank you for being here. Cool. So Natalia actually came recommended from one of our other guests. And so I'm really excited to kind of chat with her. And we've really been kind of looking to kind of expand into friends of friends through creatives, because we really want to kind of hone in on this, creatives helping creatives, and this just kind of like circular platform. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I really love that that's the case here. So thank you so much for joining us. And I'm really happy that LB kind of sent me your way and stuff. It's really awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
So cool. Just to start, can you kind of just give us a background on what you do and what your role in the creative industry is right now?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, in general, I'm a visual artist. I do dabble in a lot of stuff, but what I'm most known for is photography and video.
Awesome.
But yeah, I would say those are my main focuses.
So cool. And in terms of photography, since you said that's kind of like your niche, what would you say like your specialty is within the photography? Do you do portraits, or are you doing more landscape? Like, what is your kind of style?
I'm definitely more of a portrait photographer. I've been shooting, I mean, even before photography, I was like a portrait painter. And then I just kind of like started exploring photography when I was 16, and it's always been portraits. Even though like I do dabble into like dreamscapes and things like that. It just has a different context. It's not like traditional landscape photography per se.
Awesome. And do you do more just like basic portrait stuff, or do you have kind of like a narrative or like a story behind each of the works that you are doing?
So for me, I feel like a lot of my work dabbles a little bit in mysticism. I do practice, I'm a tarot reader. I, do Reiki. And I started photography as a means to connect with my father, who died when I was a very young kid.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I felt like seeing his photography like helped me have a better grasp on who he was. And I like kind of just saw the power in photography. So I feel like in my style of shooting, I tend to, look for a sense of mysticism and divinity in the person that I'm trying to shoot. And in addition to that, I'm a queer woman of color. And when I was a young kid, I was very non-binary. And I used to get bullied and beat up. And I feel like I've made it kind of my responsibility to always stay true to like shoot subjects that are, oppressed or not represented enough in media.
Definitely. Yeah. And so do you work typically with like clientele who kind of faces the same struggles and stuff, so that you guys can kind of put together this narrative like all together?
Exactly.
That's amazing. Awesome. I love that. Cool. And just in general, I guess, because it seems like your work is very narrative driven and very based off of like your life and your experiences. So what would you say, in general, and I guess for any other creative, their responsibility is as an artist? Because I really agree with, I also shoot as well. And I really feel like, it is very important that we tell our stories and tell our struggles and everything through our work for any artist. But I do want to kind of hear what you feel like, I guess, the general artist's role or creative's role is in the social landscape today.
I love that you brought up responsibilities. I was actually having a discussion about this recently, and how I think that as artists, we have to be really conscious of the power of image and how images are constantly consumed all around us, and how they influence the way we think, the way we treat others, the way we think about ourselves. And I think that artists now with like the social context should really take that into consideration and really think about the message that they're trying to share. And yes, use your own experiences as lens, but just focus on the areas where you want to see change, where you want to see beauty, where you want to change the way viewers start to perceive things. Like for me, I love to shoot, non-binary, trans, people of color, because I understand, being in that binary and just feeling, just never represented, not feeling good about myself just because I felt like, oh, there's something wrong with me. And I think that the minute, that's something that like we all start to see and we all start to share, it just changes the narrative, and it no longer becomes strange or something that people are afraid of. So, I mean, that's my take on that.
Definitely. Yeah. And I feel like this kind of way of telling that narrative through that, you know what I mean? I feel like it allows other people to kind of be more receptive to it as well. Yeah, so I definitely think, like, I really agree with you on that. There is a responsibility that we have to kind of, you know, especially in the social landscape with everything that's going on in the world right now, to kind of use our voice and kind of represent those who maybe can't speak for themselves, you know what I mean? So it's definitely very important. And I guess, you know, since you're working in such a powerful area, do you have any stories or specific instances of people who have had like a really like huge response to your work, something that's been really pivotal for you as an artist?
Yeah, I've had a lot of different responses from, you know, the subjects that I shoot, which I think is a very collaborative experience. Like, I don't really like to take full credit, you know. I feel like I do seek out to shoot people that I don't see enough of and who I find beautiful, like in spirit. And I want to, you know, just show that. And the response I've gotten is like, oh, wow, you made me feel beautiful. You made me see myself in a way that I hadn't yet seen myself, or you helped me with my body just more feel, you know, like I don't, you know, I usually see myself in a certain way, and you made me feel good about myself. And for me, that's so rewarding, because I think we all deserve, you know, to see like our true beauty, because we're all, I mean, beauty at the end of the day is like a pure form of love. And, you know, we're all born from that. And we all need to be told that. So
definitely. And when you're mentioning this collaborative aspect, do you mean just because of the story that of the person you're shooting and you, or do you have a team of, like, I guess, other creatives that kind of work on your shoots with you?
I mean, yeah, there's sometimes it's mainly just me and the subject. I think most of the time I like keeping it small, unless, you know, I'm shooting for a brand or anything like that. And I also love, you know, collaborating and making it, you know, a full team effort. But I mean, more so like as the result, you know, the result of the image, I feel like it's, you know, the person that you're shooting, you know, them like bringing, you know, what they have to the table, and you just being the person who's receiving and putting it on an image. And yeah, so I definitely think that connecting with something, you know, connecting with something you love is important when you're creating.
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And I think that, yeah, I think it's just really important to kind of, you know, understand what you're shooting. I'm always someone who's really big about, and that's why I love this series so much, is kind of speaking with artists about their stories. Because I'm so big about the fact that like a story behind an artist is what makes the artist unique and special. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like anybody can pick up a camera and take a picture, and like, unless there's something behind it, unless there's like, you know, meaning behind it and like love behind it, I feel like it's just a photo. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think it's really important, like you said, to kind of connect with who you're shooting or what you're shooting, so that, because I feel like that really shines through your work as well. Awesome. And I guess on the, you know, more broad spectrum, what is like your overall goal that you kind of want to achieve with your career? And yeah, I guess, like, do you have any special people you would like to really work with, or any specific projects that you kind of are like aiming towards?
I feel like I'm starting to collaborate with a lot of people I already like really love and admire. But like on the bigger spectrum, like Wong Kar-wai is one of my favorite directors, and I love his style of storytelling and the cinematography, which with Christopher Doyle, they're both just fantastic. But I just love the way he explores conversations that you have in your mind, conversations you have with others in like such an intimate light. So that would be like my dream collaboration. But as far as personal goals, I'm trying to finish a film I've been writing for years, and, you know, get it funded and get it shot.
That's awesome. Can you give us a little bit more information on that? That sounds amazing.
Yeah. So a lot of like what I was saying before, like the reasons I started shooting, you know, I experienced a lot of grief as a kid. And I think that, you know, when kids experience grief, they tend to disconnect a bit and daydream, and, you know, and kids are already so imaginative. So a kid that's like experiencing such big things, like they experience the dreaminess on a different level. And I wanted to make a film on grief. Basically, I wanted to do like the 5 stages of grief and like different like visual poetic chapters, and where this girl who's like experiencing like a little bit of a psychosis is like gets a vision of an ancestor, and she has to play this like video game to like and overcome every phase of grief. And I want to do like a little bit of VR for it. So
that's awesome.
Make it like a little bit of like a spiritual journey, but like surreal and, you know, a little fun and interactive.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. I love that. Wow, that's so cool. Yeah. Well, definitely sending good energy your way so that definitely comes to fruition. That sounds amazing.
Thank you.
Cool. And then I get also like, you know, a bigger, more broad spectrum question, but, you know, I've also kind of been recently chatting more with my creatives about just the creative industry as a whole today, and kind of, I guess, any like resources or areas that you see as a creative in this industry that really need like love, like I guess catered to. So any areas that really just kind of are struggling right now within the creative industry that you would kind of lend as, I guess, advice for other creatives to kind of work on so that we can kind of better the social landscape of the creative industry.
Can you rephrase that a little bit?
Yeah. So like, what are some issues, I guess issues is a bit of a strong word, but some areas where I guess that need a little bit more love within the creative industry, that as a creative in this industry, you have noticed that we can kind of work on together as creatives?
I think that we all need to start asking questions, and we need to start having conversations with, you know, we see, you know, the Black Lives Matter movement, you know, people fighting for, you know, LGBTQI rights. We see, you know, Latinos being put in cages, children being put in cages, like children lost, you know, there's so many issues, the environment. And I feel like we're here to figure out our strength and what we can deliver. So like, what's your strength? You know, where do you relate most? Where do you want to have more conversations and educate yourself a little bit better so that you can help, you know, and be an active participant in, you know, social change. For me, you know, I know where I am in that spectrum, you know, fighting for, I want to fight for everything, but, you know, just being a responsible artist, you know, taking everything into consideration, try to be mindful, like what materials are you using? Who are you communicating? Like, who's your audience? Like, who are you representing? What conversations are you having to make sure that the message is clear and, you know, informal? Just, you know, even with the Black Lives Matter movement, I've learned so much, and, you know, always knowing that that's an issue, but like in that process, like I've spent, you know, hours and hours educating myself and, you know, talking to friends and having conversations and just making it kind of important to make it more of a normal conversation. And I think that, you know, maybe now with this pandemic, a lot of us are having an easier time having more difficult conversations. I don't know if like not being able to go to bars and things like that has like changed the narrative, the way we speak. But I do think that like, as a new creative, like think about those things, like where's your strength? Where do you identify? What do you want to learn more about? And how can you be mindful in your practice?
I think I really like how you mentioned, you know, this aspect of like more towards like the social change issues, but having conversations, because I feel like a lot of the times, especially with the Black Lives Matter movement that was going on, I was seeing a lot of people who were kind of like, oh, I can't make it to like protest, you know what I mean? So am I doing my part by like, how can I do my part? And I feel like, you know, this talking aspect is so powerful. Like you just going to your friend who may not be as educated as you and like kind of speaking, you know, on the issue to them. That's you doing your part, even if you can't physically be there standing, you know, with everybody. So I think that that's really like important that you said that, you know what I mean? That to kind of be wary of like, you know, what it is that you're fighting for, and then kind of do your part in whatever way that may be. Because I think a lot of the times like we're fed one way and everyone thinks that this is the one way that you have to like fight for something. But in reality, there's so many different ways that you can kind of use your voice.
So many different ways, for sure.
Especially as an artist.
And what's your strength? Like, are you good at talking? You know, right now you're a host, like that's your strength, like, you know, making these episodes and like asking people to talk about it, you know, like if you're a visual artist, like what can you do? Can you donate your work? Can you expose something that needs to be exposed? Like just find your strength and like deliver.
Definitely. Yeah. And especially for people who like maybe aren't so good at talking, you know what I mean? Because that's something we've been talking about just generally within the creative industry, because obviously, you know, the industry is so focused on connections and stuff, and there's a lot of people who like don't like talking to people, you know what I mean? And fair enough, like everybody's different. And I feel like that's the same in that situation too. So, you know, you could always use your platform, whether that be visually and you creating a piece of work that you're sharing, and that may not take you directly speaking with somebody, but sharing that could definitely make a difference. So yeah, I think that's really important that you kind of touched on that. Awesome. And what is something that you know now, like that you wish you knew back then? And like rephrased, I mean by that, like what is something that like you would lend as like advice to like your younger self when you were just starting out as a creative?
I wish I knew that I would get better. You know, I think that like sometimes you're starting out and you're like, I suck. And then, you know, you lose your sense of worth. And you end up doing things that like wear you out or leave you jaded because you don't value yourself. And I wish I would have known, like, yes, you did this because you knew what your voice was, but you just didn't know how to execute it perfectly just yet. And you'll figure it out, and you're gonna get better. You won't suck forever, I promise.
Yeah, definitely. And it's all consistency of time. Yeah, that's like the one thing I've been hearing from like every creative is like just putting the time into it like makes the world of difference. You know what I mean? And yeah, it's kind of funny that you say that, because I know that that's like, you know, when you start, you're like you're like doing everything you can, and then you look at it and you're just like, yeah, so
you're like, what did I do wrong?
Definitely. Yeah, that's really important. And in that regard, have you found yourself like relying a lot on other creatives to kind of help you along the way? Because there's also this idea of collaboration that we've been talking a lot about. And I kind of wanted to get your, I guess, 2 cents on how to navigate collaborating in the industry as a creative.
Always remember that there's more than enough to share with everybody in the world, and that it's not a competition. You know, sometimes the people that intimidate us the most are the people that are reflecting something similar to ourselves. And maybe you just take a moment to like, just get to know them and see what they're about. I feel like there's so much power in collaboration. And for me, like collaboration has taught me how to use my voice better, you know, just be able to share ideas with someone and then kind of put a different lens on it, and like it helps you have a little bit of a peripheral view on it. And I think it's important for people to realize that and to not feel so threatened. Everybody's trying to be the best artist that they can be, you know, when they're doing it, and it's not a race. You know, some people bloom in their 30s, some people bloom in their early 20s. Like everybody has their time, and it's all the way it's supposed to be, you know, like we're all figuring it out at our own pace. And be open to mentors, be open to people giving you advice, be open to collaborations, because there's just so much more to explore about yourself. And sometimes you need somebody else to kind of turn the lens on you so that you could see what you're doing a little bit better.
Definitely. Yeah. I think that's really important. I think, there's just so much like, I don't know how to explain it, but like a lot of times I feel like creatives are just really like, feel very intimidated by each other, because granted, everything is all through, you know, like social media these days. So I think that always just adds that extra layer of uncomfort, and like, you don't know, you know, someone's response is going to be over the computer, you know what I mean? So I think that can definitely be really difficult. But also just being able to navigate like wanting a specific response and maybe not getting it sometimes is definitely very difficult. But I think, you know, what you're saying is kind of finding these people that kind of like blend with what you're trying to tell. And I really like what you said about the fact that, you know, sometimes the person you're most intimidated by can have like a similar, you know, thought process and story as you. So I think just kind of putting yourself out there and like being able to kind of, you know, focus on those collaboration aspects is definitely very important. And then just, you know, the worst they can do is say no. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Like move on to the next one, you know?
Yeah, like just keep on moving.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. And then do you have like a specific like story of like a moment where you like really doubted yourself anytime throughout your career? And how did you overcome that moment?
So many moments. Yeah. So I feel like there's been a lot of moments that I felt that way. And honestly, what's always helped me have been my peers, my fellow artist friends, who sometimes you just need to be reminded that we're all going through the same thing. We're all like we all go through the ups and downs. Sometimes we feel uninspired. Sometimes life throws, some stuff that we have to cope with and deal with, and trauma, and and we just have to like stop and take care of ourselves, and that's okay. It's okay if you don't create for a year, if you just need to like take care of yourself. But yeah, just for me, I feel like overcoming it has always been like just having that support from my friends who like really always believe in me, and also, I'm always supporting them, and we just do that. When they know I'm going through a hard time, they listen, they hold space, and I do the same. So
right.
I think just knowing that you have a community is so important, and building that community is so important.
Yeah, I think having friends around you that are also creatives is really important too, because I feel like as creatives, we have like obviously very different structures within our heads, you know what I mean? And I feel like we go through a lot of the same things. So it's definitely a lot easier to talk to a friend who is a creative when you're struggling with things that are in the creative realm. Because they'll understand kind of the struggles that we go through. Like you said, all these things of self-doubt or struggles that we're dealing with the specific project, like it's a lot easier
or guilt and shame for not being like, if you are the only creative in your family and you have a sister who's a doctor and she's fine and like everything's been going okay, and you're just like still going up and down, and you feel all this shame and guilt for it, So I feel being around fellow artists, you remind yourself, we're like, okay, we're in this for a reason. Like, this is our calling. We wouldn't be happier any other way.
Exactly. Yeah, being able to have those discussions is really important, and just surrounding yourself with people who you can have those discussions with is really important as well. Definitely. And I want to kind of hone in on, because I know you mentioned you do a lot of things other than photography, but you did mention that photography is kind of your focus. So I wanted to kind of talk with you about the story behind that, and why you kind of chose to hone in on photo as your like focus, and what kind of led you to photography?
Well, my dad used to be a photographer, and on his side of the family, everybody's like more artistic. But yeah, he was a photographer, and he passed away when I was really young. I didn't really get to know him. So for me, like my way of getting to know him was looking through his photographs, and he was a portrait photographer. And it's kind of like amazing how photos have that power where you feel there's like a photo that you really like you feel like you're in that moment. You like know the subject, or the person taking it. And that was my experience from it. So once I was like 16, I took a darkroom class, and I still paint, I still do all those things, but the minute I had a camera in my hand, I was just like, I want to master this. I this is what I want. And that's what I've been doing since.
That's amazing. I love that. I love that story. I'm sorry about your dad, but that's so amazing to kind of hear that you're carrying his tradition and his
for sure.
his work on. And I love that
it inspired me.
And I love that you were able to connect with his work, and that you can really feel what he was trying to portray when he was taking those photos. That's really amazing. I think photography is such a powerful force. And I think it's really cool. I haven't really spoken with many photographers for this series, so I was really excited to talk to you.
Cool.
I think not many people really understand the work and the power that goes behind a photograph. Because a lot of the times, we see photography as something that's kind of just like there, you know what I mean? Like pictures and, and like, but a lot of the times, like I know the struggle that goes behind it. It's tough, and it's definitely like really important that we have like that, way to kind of tell our story. And I think, just like the history behind photography as well, just being able to capture like a moment, you know what I mean? It's just so special. So it's awesome.
There's actually a book that described it as like, they're like a film can change your life, but like a photo, you could hold it in your hand. Like, it's like,
yes, that's so accurate. It's so true. Yeah. And I think there needs to be a lot more focus on photographers. I feel like we're really focused on like, other artists at the moment, but I think, there really just needs to be more of like a hone on photographers, because it's definitely very important in the creative realm as a whole. Awesome. And I guess kind of like moving on, what is like the message that you hope to leave behind? I know you've kind of talked about everything that you kind of focus on, but I guess when you're gone and your work still kind of exists in the world, what do you hope, other than, this narrative of inclusivity and stuff, that people take from your work just in general?
I just want, honestly, from the work itself, I just want people to notice that, I don't know, that love and beauty comes in every shape and form, and every color, every single thing you can imagine. Like that the beauty of being human is that none of us are the same. And that's what I would want somebody to take away from it. Cause I do feel like the way I shoot has like a bit of a little Venusian-ness to it, you know, but the subjects are not these perfect, beautiful women like you normally see. So I do bring that like aesthetic to like all types of bodies. And I want that to just be the message. Like, you know, we're all beautiful.
I love that. That's amazing. Yeah. Yeah. We need more of that, especially, like you said, you know, we're so used to seeing like these perfect models. And I feel like what's really amazing is that the world has kind of been moving over from that. A lot of bigger brands,
it's been shifting.
Models that are that are much more inclusive.
So great.
Which is so amazing. Yeah.
I love it.
Awesome. But I love that you're really focusing on that throughout your career, and that that's something that people are going to take from you, you know, later on. Cause I think it's really important that we kind of shift like this narrative, especially for like, you know, younger generations. Like, I feel like we were so raised and so ingrained with this thought of like the perfect woman, you know what I mean? And I hope that like my hope, and I'm sure your hope is that, you know, like in 10 years when
future generations,
exactly, that's not the case anymore. They grow up thinking
that they love and
exactly.
And that they celebrate themselves. Celebrate who you are, no matter like how you express it.
Exactly. Yeah. So important. Awesome. Okay, cool. And then lastly, what is, I guess you already kind of gave some advice, but what is just a general piece of advice that you would give to any young artist who's kind of entering the creative industry? And on just how to navigate like being a part of this industry right now, because I know it's very difficult and tough to kind of, you know, grow and put yourself out there, especially with this collaboration aspect that we've kind of been talking a lot about. I know you kind of mentioned that, like, you know, you really depend on your like creative friends and stuff. So for a younger creative who maybe is entering and doesn't have like you know, resources like that available to them, what kind of advice would you lend to them to kind of get their feet wet in the industry and kind of find, I guess, a home in the industry?
Reach out to mentors. Don't be afraid. Don't be intimidated. I'm always happy to receive a message. Someone's like, oh, I want to intern for you and like whatever. And I'm like, that's so sweet. Like, thank you. Don't be afraid. You'll be surprised at like how well received it will be from some people. And just, you know, if there's somebody that you love and respect, just reach out, like say, hey, like, I would love to learn more. Can I intern for you? Like, I'll help you like organize, I'll assist you on shoots, whatever. Like, if you're just starting out, like just reach out to your mentors, like, and don't be intimidated by them. They were there before too. And they feel you.
Definitely. Yeah, I can attest to that too. Cause I know that there's been a lot of times where I've reached out to people and been like, hey, like, can I shadow you for a day? You know what I mean? And like, you're so right. Like, it's like the people who you never think would even like open your message are the people who answer and are so receptive to it. I think it is very flattering to hear that. And so it's like, I'm sure very exciting just to kind of teach and just, again, create this like circular economy of just like artists helping artists is so important. So yeah, that's awesome. Really good advice. Cool. And then lastly, for our last question, we've just been asking everybody what their favorite song is right now. Favorite song right now?
It's by Lena Platanos. I've been listening to her album Gallup a lot, and there's this one song. It's called, let me see the title again. I just listened to it over and over again. It's called Bloody Shadows from Afar. But yeah, I just like recently discovered it, like, and I haven't stopped listening to it in like the last month.
Oh, cool. I'll have to check that out. Yeah, I'm like that too. I'll like listen to a song to death until it's like, okay, on to the next one.
I'm like, okay. Like new vibe.
Definitely. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. It's been so great talking to you. And like I said, I was really excited to kind of get some, you know, photographers in here. I feel like we've kind of been lacking in that area. So I'm really just excited to kind of talk with someone who's in that field and working in that field, especially you who have such a, you know, distinct narrative behind what you're doing. And I'm just really excited to kind of see what happens with your work and where you're going. So thank you so much for sharing your story with us. I think it's really important.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy
know about it. Yeah, of course. I'm so happy I'll be
you.
Yeah. Awesome. Perfect. And then if you have any friends who would like to be interviewed, that would be awesome. Please send them my way.
Yeah.
And
I will.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And if anybody who's watching has any friends, you can also send them my way. We have a link to a type form that I will put down below where they can kind of submit an application. Or you can also just email me directly at erica@sadacollective.com. That's probably the best way because I'll just get the email right away and then we can kind of chat there. So anyone can just go ahead and let me know about that. And I also have, Natalia, I'll let you know, and I'll let everybody who's watching know, we have a new series right now that we've just opened up. It's called Conversation Pit. And I'm really excited about it. Basically now we're going to be moving on to more niche oriented sessions. And so we're basically going to be like, let's say 1 week we focus on photographers. We're going to have a group of photographers come and we're going to let them do screen share and kind of show their work and get feedback from everybody. And then kind of move on over to talking about more resources, like I guess for photographers that you guys have found, you know, helpful, kind of sharing, again, creating this, you know, circular economy between artists. So I'm really excited about that because it's a little bit less of me talking, a little bit more of you guys talking with each other. And I feel like that also gives you guys the, you know, opportunity to kind of build these, you know, resources that we've been kind of talking about, which is, you know, having these creative friends around you. So, so if anybody's watching,
I love that. That's amazing.
Yeah. So if anyone's watching, you guys can go ahead and sign up for that as well. We have it going on every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And other than that, thank you so much for watching. And thank you again, Natalia. And I really look forward to the next episode of Deconstructing the Narrative. I'll see you guys all soon. Bye.
Bye.